Hi, welcome to the CrafteeManatee. Today I'm going to be showing you how to crochet the double crochet stitch. This is a complete beginner's guide, so if you are brand new to crocheting, this is the perfect video for you to learn how to work this stitch. This is also a great tutorial if you're an experienced crocheter and just want a refresher on how to work the double crochet stitch. I know it can get overwhelming with all of the stitches out there, and it's nice to have a little refresher sometimes. Now this is a tutorial for the US double crochet stitch. This is also called a treble crochet stitch in the UK. These stitches are exactly the same, it's just the name that's different. I know it can be a little confusing, but the US double crochet stitch is the same as the UK treble crochet stitch. Make sure to check your patterns before you start working them to make sure if you are working in US terms or UK terms. I've definitely made the mistake of not reading the pattern and working it in a completely different stitch than what was called for. So don't make the same mistake, make sure to check your patterns. For the rest of this tutorial, I'm just going to be calling this stitch the double crochet stitch, but do know that that is the same as the UK treble. For this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to work the double crochet stitch in bulky yarn and in worsted weight yarn. First, we're going to start with the bulky yarn so that you can see the stitches a little bit better, and then I'll show you what it looks like on worsted weight yarn as well. This way you're able to see what the stitch looks like in two different yarn types. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, to get started crocheting the double crochet stitch in bulky yarn, we're first going to need our yarn, and we're also going to need our crochet hook. I'm using an 8mm crochet hook, or the letter L. Your yarn will tell you which crochet hook to use. The pattern you're following will also tell you what size crochet hook, so just follow that for your corresponding yarn. So we'll go ahead and get started by making a slip knot. So we're going to loop the yarn around like that, and then reach through the loop and pull up yarn. So that is how we start crocheting. We're going to insert our hook into the slip knot and pull on the tail to cinch it onto our hook. Next, we need to make a foundation chain. So to chain in crochet, you're going to yarn over, which is wrapping the yarn around your crochet hook like that. So yarn over, hook that loop into your crochet hook, and pull through. That's one chain. We're going to go ahead and make 10 chains today. You can make however many chains you want for your project. If you're following a pattern, it will tell you how many chains, or you can just pick any random number to start practicing. So we're going to do what we just did 9 more times. Alright, so we have our foundation chain made now. So the next row we're going to work is the first row of double crochet stitches. The first stitch that we're going to work is going to be in that third chain from our hook. So we're going to skip 2 chains. We're going to skip the chain closest to the hook and also the next chain, and we'll work into that third chain. Some people do this a little bit differently. I like to leave 2 chains for double crochet stitches because it adds a little bit more wiggle room. You might see people leave just 1, but just follow the pattern that you're working with. They'll tell you how many chains to make and how many stitches that will leave in the next row. Because we have chained 10, but because we're skipping those first 2 chains, that means that each row from here on out is only going to be 8 stitches across. So keep that in mind if you are making your own pattern to account for that. But other than that, just follow what your pattern says for how many chains to make. Alright, with all of that said, we are now ready to start working our first double crochet stitch. So to work the double crochet stitch, first we are going to yarn over, and then we are going to insert our hook into the chain. So this is what it's going to look like. We have 3 loops on our hook at the moment. Next, we're going to yarn over and pull through like that. And now we have 3 loops on our crochet hook. The next step is to yarn over and pull through 2 of those loops. So now you can see we have 2 loops on our hook. The last step is to yarn over again and pull through the last 2 stitches. And you're just going to repeat that step across the row. So we have our yarn over, inserting into the chain, yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarning over, pulling through 2, and yarning over and pulling through 2. So we're going to continue those steps all the way until the end of the row. Alright, so we are now at the end of our first row of double crochet stitches. Now we're going to chain 2 and turn our work. So now we are going to be working 1 double crochet stitch in each of the stitches across, except for these first 2 chain stitches. That's just to allow more room on the edge of the project so things aren't very tight. So we're going to yarn over and insert our hook into the front and the back loop of the next stitch. So you can see how on these stitches there is a front loop and a back loop. You want to make sure that your hook goes through both the front and the back loop. So we're going to yarn over, pull through, and then we're going to yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. So now we're going to continue that all the way until the end of the row. And this is what the double crochet stitch will look like when you're done on the bulky yarn. So now that I've shown you how to make it with bulky yarn, we're going to go ahead and work on worsted weight yarn. Alright, so these steps are exactly the same for double crocheting with worsted weight yarn that I just showed you, but we will go over them again just so that you can get a little bit more practice and see how it will look on worsted weight yarn. So we of course need our yarn. And then I'm switching crochet hooks. I'm going down a size to a 5mm or letter H crochet hook. That is the recommended hook for this yarn. So just like we did before, we're going to start with a slip knot, make that loop, and then we're going to reach through the loop and pull up our yarn. We're going to insert our hook and pull it tightly. Now we're going to make a foundation chain. Again, I'm going to chain 10. You can chain as many as you would like. So we are going to yarn over and pull through to make those chains, and we're going to do that 10 times. Alright, so now that we've made our foundation chain, we're going to work our first double crochet stitch. Remember, we're skipping those first 2 chains that are closest to the hook, and we're going to work in that 3rd chain. So we're going to yarn over, insert through the chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. We're going to continue that across all the way until the end of the row. Remember, we'll have 8 stitches instead of the 10 chain that we made because we have to skip those first 2 stitches. Alright, so now that we're at the end of the row, we're going to chain 2 and turn our work. So now we're going to be working through the stitches, so through the front and the back loop of the stitches. And we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we are going to just continue doing this all the way until the end of the row. Alright, so we are at the end of the row, and that is how you work the US double crochet or UK treble crochet in bulky yarn or worsted weight yarn. As you can see, even though they are the same stitch, they look completely different in bulky yarn and worsted weight yarn. We chained the same amount of stitches for the worsted weight as we did for the bulky, so if you're a beginner, using bulky yarn is definitely great because you can see the stitches, and for whatever project you're working on, you're going to finish faster because you have to work less stitches to make larger projects. Thanks for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to crochet the double crochet stitch. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more crochet tutorials and patterns. You can find me on Instagram at the CrafteeManatee, and you can also find all of my patterns on Ravelry, Rippler, and Etsy. Thanks for watching. Bye.